Just before we jump back in, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow's special episode is one you won't want to miss. Rain pelted the windshield as we drove through the darkness, each drop echoing the silence inside our family sedan. I sat in the back seat, my thin fingers tracing the fog on the window. Something was wrong. Even through the haze of pain meds, I could feel it. The air was different tonight. "Dad, where are we going?" I asked, barely audible above the storm and the wipers. "It's pretty late for a doctor's appointment." No answer, just my father's knuckles tightening on the steering wheel. My mother stared straight ahead, her face lit by the occasional flash of lightning. She hadn't looked me in the eye in weeks. "My name is Leah Wells. I'm 17, and tonight, everything would change." The neurological condition started when I was 12. First, tremors, brushed off as anxiety. By 14, I needed a cane. By 16, the wheelchair in our trunk was my lifeline, and hospital staff knew me by name. My parents' savings vanished on specialists, treatments, and meds that promised relief but delivered only side effects. "We're almost there," my father finally said, his voice flat. The car slowed as we turned onto a country road I didn't recognize. Trees loomed on either side, shadows shifting in our headlights. I shifted uncomfortably, pain radiating down my spine. My meds were wearing off. "Mom," I leaned forward, trying to catch her eye in the rearview, "I think I need my next dose early, this road is." "You'll be fine," she cut me off, her voice colder than I'd ever heard. A memory hit me, my 8th birthday. Mom's chocolate cake with rainbow sprinkles. Dad lifting me on his shoulders to touch the ceiling. My brother Caleb, 9 years older, handing me a bracelet he made with colored string. "One color for each year," he said. "I'll add another next birthday." The bracelet was still in my drawer. He never added that 9th color. Caleb disappeared when he was 17, after a huge argument with Dad. I was 8, confused, heartbroken. Mom only said he went to find his own way, but the look in her eyes said otherwise. The car lurched to a stop, jolting me back. We were on a dirt shoulder beside the road, miles from anywhere. No houses. No lights. Just darkness, rain, and thunder. My father turned off the engine. "Get out," he said without turning around. I laughed nervously. "What?" "It's pouring." "Is this a joke?" "Get out?" "Take your backpack." His fingers drummed on the wheel. I looked down. A backpack sat at my feet. It hadn't been there earlier. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "What's happening?" She turned, her face unfamiliar. "We can't do this anymore, Leah. The bills, the care, watching you fade. We've given everything." "But I'm your daughter," I whispered, cold fear creeping in. "You're a burden," my father said. "There's nothing left, no savings, no life beyond hospitals." "The community support dried up," my mother added. "No more fundraisers. Insurance won't cover the treatments. We just can't watch you suffer anymore." "So you're leaving me here?" I couldn't believe it. No answer. My father popped the trunk, stepped into the rain, and yanked my door open. Cold drops soaked the seat. "Dad, please," I begged, shivering. "Whatever I did, I'm sorry. I'll try harder." "Oh. It's what you are, what you've become," he said, grabbing my arm and pulling me from the car. My legs gave out. I hit the muddy ground, pain shooting through my hip. "Your backpack." He tossed it beside me. It landed in a puddle, water soaking through. I looked up at the people who had given me life, who used to tuck me in and check for monsters under my bed. Their faces were expressionless. No tears. No guilt. Nothing like love or regret. "Why?" I asked through chattering teeth. My mother looked away. My father turned and walked back to the driver's side. No goodbyes. No parting words. just the slam of doors. The engine roared, and they drove off, tail lights vanishing into the storm. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't obey. The tremors had begun in earnest, sharpened by cold and terror. I crawled toward the edge of the road, finding the shallow ditch. Rain hammered my back, soaking through my sweater. Headlights appeared in the distance. Hope flared. I raised a trembling hand. The truck slowed, then sped away, leaving me alone again. This couldn't be real. It had to be a nightmare, a drug-induced hallucination. My parents wouldn't leave me. Couldn't. But the cold mud, the rain, the pain, they didn't lie. I don't know how long I lay there. Minutes or hours blurred in a haze of thunder, lightning, and drifting thoughts, birthdays, hospital rooms, Caleb's laughter, my mother's distant eyes. Through blurred vision, I spotted headlights again, dimmer, parked far away. Someone had followed us? Seen what happened? A door opened. Footsteps splashed toward me. A tall figure appeared, pushing through the rain. Fear surged. Was this someone to help or harm? I tried to call out, but thunder swallowed my voice. The figure crouched beside me, shielding me from the rain. A gentle hand brushed my soaked hair. "It's okay," a man's voice said. Familiar, aged by time, but unmistakable. "I never forgot you." I squinted, trying to see his face, but darkness crept in. Strong arms lifted me. His chest was warm, steady. "You're safe now," he whispered. My last thought before blackness claimed me was that I knew that voice, from bedtime stories, from arguments he fought on my behalf. From a brother who'd vanished 10 years ago. "Caleb," I breathed, though I wasn't sure if the word ever escaped my lips. Warmth, that was the first thing I felt as I drifted back to consciousness. Not cold or rain, but warmth. The crackle of fire, soft blankets, quiet. I opened my eyes. I was in a rustic room with wooden walls and a low ceiling. A wood-burning stove glowed in the corner. I lay on a bed covered in thick quilts. And 4 dripped into my arm. My clothes had been changed to a flannel nightgown. Clean clothes sat folded on a chair. Rain still pattered on the roof, but gently now, comforting, not cruel. Framed photos hung on the wall, mountains, forests, a lake at sunset. One showed a man silhouetted on a cliff at dawn. "You're awake." The voice startled me. In the doorway stood a tall man holding a steaming mug. Late 20s. Broad shoulders. Brown hair curling slightly at the neck. Stubble on his jaw. But it was his eyes, deep blue and shaped like mine, that stopped me. "Caleb." My voice cracked with disbelief. He stepped in, placing the mug on a table beside me. "Hey, Liabine," he said, using the nickname only he ever called me. I tried to sit up. My body protested. Caleb moved quickly, adjusting pillows behind me with careful hands. "How, when?" I couldn't finish the questions. "Drink this first," he said, offering the mug. "Tea with honey." "Your throat sounds like sandpaper." I took a sip. Warm, sweet, soothing. Comforted me, the reality of what had happened crashed back. "They left me," I said, my voice cracking. "My parents, they just drove away." Caleb's jaw tightened. "I know. I saw. I followed them." He sat on the edge of the bed. "I've been watching them, Leia. I had a feeling something was wrong." "But how did you even find me?" "You've been gone for years, no calls, no letters, nothing." The hurt I'd buried surged to the surface. He looked down at his hands, strong, calloused, with a scar across his right knuckles. "It's a long story," he said quietly. "But the short version? I never really left you. I left them." His words hung in the air. My mind reeled back to that night, the shouting, slamming doors, Dad's voice thundering, "Dash, if you walk out that door, don't ever come back." But why? What happened? Caleb gave a bitter laugh. I stood up to him. "You'd just been diagnosed, and he refused to take you to a specialist in Boston. Said we couldn't afford it. I offered money I'd saved from summer jobs. He said I was undermining him, that I didn't understand what it meant to support a family. I remembered the tension back then, Dad's temper growing, the bills mounting, how scared I was. The night I left, Caleb continued, I overheard them talking about selling the house. Moving somewhere cheaper, far from the care you needed. I confronted him. It escalated. I left with $50 in my pocket and no diploma. But that was 9 years ago, I said. Why didn't you ever contact me? Pain clouded his face. I tried. I wrote, they sent the letters back. I called, your dad threatened to press charges. Once, I even went to your school, but they'd already told them I wasn't allowed near you. The blow landed hard. I'd believed Caleb had simply abandoned me. How many nights had I waited, hoping for a call? Where did you go? I asked. I was homeless for a while. Shelters, my car, whatever I could find. Worked odd jobs, construction, dishwashing. Got into some trouble. He gestured to a small tattoo on his forearm. But I got my GED, found steadier work, and this place. I looked around. You bought it? 3 years ago. It was a wreck. Took a year to make it livable. Off-grid. Hard to find. That's why I chose it. You were hiding? Not hiding, just staying off their radar. No digital footprint, no trace. Them? I asked, confused. Caleb's face darkened. While you were unconscious, I made calls. Checked hospital records. Spoke to an old friend in social services, he hesitated. Your parents didn't just abandon you. They emptied your medical fund, the one from all those fundraisers, and reported you as a runaway. The mug nearly slipped from my hands. What? Why? Insurance fraud, partly. But mostly to cover themselves. They're trying to make it look like you left on your own, not that they dumped you on the side of the road in a storm. I felt like I was drowning. Not just abandoned, but erased. Cast as the villain in my own story. I've been documenting everything, Caleb said, showing me a folder on his phone, screenshots of withdrawals, GPS logs, dashcam footage. I don't want revenge. I want justice. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Why didn't you come sooner? Caleb's composure finally cracked. I've been searching, Leia. Checking hospital records, joining support groups, even driving past our old house hoping to catch a glimpse. But every lead went cold. By the time I found you, you were 17. I was building a case, making sure they could never hurt you again. As the weight of his words settled over me, emotions I didn't yet understand swelled in my chest. Crashed through me, gratitude, confusion, grief, and relief, all tangled in a knot I couldn't unravel. I broke down, years of pain pouring out in wrenching sobs. Caleb moved closer, then wrapped his arms around me. He held me as I cried, his own tears falling silently into my hair. I'm sorry, he whispered again and again. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. When the tears finally ebbed, leaving me hollow, I asked, what happens now? Caleb pulled back, wiping his face. Now you heal, physically, yes, but in here too. He touched his chest. And then, when you're ready, we show the world who you really are. I didn't fully understand, but something in his voice sparked a flicker of hope. As he stood to adjust my fore, I noticed a leather-bound journal on the bedside table. What's that? He picked it up, turned it over in his hands, then held it out to me. It was Mom's. I found it hidden in a storage unit she rented under her maiden name. His face was unreadable. You should read it. There's more to this story than I realized. I took the journal, feeling its weight, not just in my hands, but in my chest. Secrets. Truths I might not be ready for. Rest now, Caleb said, moving toward the door. We've got time to figure it out. As he left, I ran my fingers over the worn leather. Whatever was in those pages could answer the questions that haunted me, or raise new ones. Either way, I wasn't alone anymore. For the first time in almost a decade, someone was fighting for me. Sunlight filtered through handmade curtains, casting a warm glow across the cabin's wooden floor. 3 weeks had passed since the night I was left on the roadside, 3 weeks of slow healing, of adjusting to a new life where I wasn't abandoned. "Arms up," said Anna, a woman in her 30s with close-cropped dark hair and sharp brown eyes. "Hold for 10 seconds. I raised trembling arms, gritting my teeth as my muscles burned. Anna watched with her usual composed focus, but I'd learned her tells, the slight nod, the way her eyes crinkled when I pushed through the pain. "Excellent," she said as I lowered my arms, sweat beading on my forehead despite the cool air. "You've gained 5 degrees of mobility since we started." "Doesn't feel like much," I muttered, reaching for my water. "Healing's not linear," she replied, scribbling in her notebook. "Your body's been through serious trauma. And that's not counting the psychological side." What happened? Such a simple phrase for something that shattered my life. The cabin door opened and Caleb stepped in, a basket of vegetables in his arms, carrots with dirt still clinging to their roots, leafy greens, and early tomatoes. "Garden's coming along," he said, setting the basket down. "How's the session?" "She's making good progress," Anna replied. "But she's impatient," Caleb teased, shooting me a wink. After Anna left, promising to return in 2 days, Caleb helped me to the porch, where a blanket-draped chair waited. Over the past few weeks, I'd slowly explored the place, what Caleb called the sanctuary dash. From the outside, the cabin looked simple: weathered wood, metal roof, nestled in the trees. Inside, though, it was full of quiet ingenuity: solar power, a compact but efficient kitchen, even satellite internet hidden behind layers of firewalls. Beyond the cabin were acres of woods, a greenhouse that produced vegetables year-round, a small workshop, and a bubbling stream that served as our water source. Most surprising was a hidden underground room beneath what looked like a root cellar, stocked with emergency supplies, backup generators, and a powerful computer system. "It's not paranoia if they're really after you," Caleb had joked when he showed me. But his tone hinted at something deeper than humor. Now, sitting on the porch with a blanket over my legs despite the summer warmth, I watched him tend the garden. The physical work had reshaped him. He was no longer the lanky teen I remembered, but all lean muscle and quiet strength. Purposeful movements, economical and precise. "You never told me how you learned all this," I called out, gesturing to the garden, the cabin, the solar panels. "Necessity," Caleb replied, straightening up and wiping sweat from his brow. "When you can't afford a repairman, you learn to do things yourself." He walked over and sat on the porch steps. "Plus, I had a great teacher." "The mentor you mentioned?" He nodded, eyes softening. "Frank. Met him in Denver while I was doing construction work. Vietnam vet. Lived off the land. Found me sleeping in my car during a snowstorm and dragged me to his cabin. Said I could stay if I made myself useful." "How long did you stay?" "Almost 3 years," he admitted. "He taught me everything: building, gardening, how to disappear. But most of all, he taught me about justice. Frank's motto: revenge burns you up, but justice lights the way." "When I learned what they did to you, I wanted revenge," Caleb said, eyes dark. "Frank helped me focus that rage into something useful." His words reminded me of the journal, our mother's journal. I'd been reading it slowly, wary of what I'd uncover. "Have you read all of it?" I asked. "Enough," Caleb said. "There's more going on than we thought. The entries about the deal they made. I think it's connected to your condition." "You think my illness isn't natural?" "I don't know. But I'm going to find out." That night, as storms lashed the cabin, we sat by the wood stove. Rain on the metal roof turned the world outside into a distant memory. "Tell me more about your life," I said. "You mentioned a failed engagement." Caleb gave a bittersweet smile. "Hannah. Met her in Colorado. Environmental lawyer. Smart, funny. She wanted a normal life, house, kids, family dinners. I couldn't give her that. Because of me? I asked. Because of everything, he said. My past, living off-grid, the nightmares. We tried. For 2 years. She gave the ring back, said she hoped I'd find peace. The ache in his voice cut through me. While I suffered, he'd been sacrificing normalcy to find me, to build this life. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be, he said. I'd do it all again. You're my sister. Family isn't supposed to be conditional. The words settled heavy between us. That night, sleep was elusive. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed of the road again, but this time, no one came. I woke gasping, tangled in sheets, my body slick with sweat. The next day, during physical therapy, I collapsed. Tremors shook me until I couldn't hold myself up, and tears poured out. I hate this, I choked, pounding my fist on the floor. I hate being broken. Anna didn't comfort me or offer clichés. She just sat down on the floor. You know why I left the military? She asked. I shook my head, startled. IED. 3 of my team died. I lived, with scars. She rolled up her sleeve to show burn tissue from wrist to elbow. 4 months, I drank to numb it. Pushed everyone away. She looked me in the eyes. One night, I put a gun in my mouth. I gasped. Didn't pull the trigger, she said, voice calm. My dog knocked over a lamp, scared me, made me drop the gun. A small smile. Survived war, saved by a clumsy Labrador. What happened then? I realized something. Surviving isn't living. You can breathe, eat, sleep, and still be dying inside. She helped me back into my wheelchair. Real healing starts when you decide to live. That afternoon, I asked Caleb to take me to the computer room. It was time to start my own investigation, not just into the abandonment, but the years of unexplained illness. We need to look into their financial records, I said. And I want to search for information about experimental treatments for purposeful movements, efficient and precise. You never told me how you learned all this, I called out, gesturing to the garden, the cabin, the solar panels. Necessity, Caleb said, wiping sweat from his brow. When you can't afford help, you figure it out. He joined me on the porch steps. Plus, I had a good teacher. The mentor? He nodded. Frank. Met him in Denver. Vietnam vet, lived off-grid. Found me sleeping in my car during a snowstorm. Took me in, said I could stay through winter if I pulled my weight. How long did you stay? Almost 3 years. He taught me how to build, grow food, disappear. But mostly, he taught me about justice. Frank had a saying, revenge burns you up, but justice lights the way. When I found out what happened to you, Caleb said, eyes intense, I wanted revenge. Frank helped me turn that into something useful. His words made me think of the journal, Our Mothers. I'd been reading it slowly, dreading the truths inside. Have you read all of it? I asked. Enough. The entries about the deal, they might be connected to your condition. You think my illness wasn't natural? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. That night, a summer storm battered the cabin. Rain drummed on the metal roof, wrapping us in white noise. Tell me more about your life, I said from my chair. You mentioned a failed engagement. Caleb gave a half-smile. Hannah. Met her in Colorado. Environmental lawyer. Smart, funny. Wanted a normal life, house, kids, holidays with her parents. I couldn't give her that. Because of me? Because of everything, my past, living off-grid, the nightmares. We tried for 2 years. She gave back the ring and wished me peace. My chest ached. While I'd been suffering, Caleb had been sacrificing. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be. Every choice I made? I'd do it again. You're my sister. Family isn't supposed to be conditional. The words settled between us, echoing the cruel lesson our parents had taught me. That night, I dreamed of the road. No one came. I woke gasping, drenched in sweat. The next day during therapy, I collapsed. Tremors shook me, and frustration spilled out as tears. I hate this, I cried, slamming my fist on the floor. I hate being broken. Anna didn't coddle me. She sat cross-legged on the floor, serious. You know why I left the military? I shook my head. IED. 3 of my team died. I lived, with scars. She rolled up her sleeve, burned tissue from wrist to elbow. 4 months, I drank, pushed people away. Her gaze didn't flinch. One night, I put a gun in my mouth. I inhaled sharply. Didn't pull the trigger. My dog knocked over a lamp, scared me, made me drop it. A flicker of a smile. Survived war, saved by a clumsy Labrador. What happened then? I realized surviving isn't living. You can eat, breathe, sleep, and still be dying inside. She helped me back into my wheelchair. The real healing starts when you choose to live. That afternoon, I told Caleb to take me to the computer room. It was time to investigate, not just the abandonment, but the illness. The years of confusion and pain. We need to dig into their finances, I said, voice steady. And I want to look into experimental treatments for neurological conditions. Caleb raised an eyebrow but didn't question it. He showed me how to use the secure computer system, explaining how our searches stayed untraceable. Hours blurred into days as we built our case. Caleb had already collected damning evidence, bank records showing my medical fund drained, GPS logs from the night I was abandoned, recordings of his calls to hospitals searching for me. I added my medical history, timelines of treatments and their effects. Patterns emerged, treatments that worsened my symptoms, doctors who appeared briefly and disappeared without explanation. One evening, as I wrote in my mother's journal, adding my entries beside hers, Anna burst into the cabin. You've been made, she said, breathless. 2 men came to the clinic today. They had your photo. Caleb jumped to his feet. Government? Police? Anna shook her head. Private. One flashed a corporate security badge when he thought I wasn't looking. My blood went cold. How'd they know to come to your clinic? I don't know, she said. But they knew what you look like, down to the birthmark on your wrist. They claimed to be relatives, but what? Caleb pressed. They didn't act like they were looking for someone lost. They acted like this was a retrieval. That night, after Anna left with a promise to warn us if they came back, I found a plain envelope under the cabin door. No return address. Inside. You were never meant to survive. Stop digging. My hands trembled as I showed it to Caleb. His face hardened. Come with me. He led me to the computer room and activated a monitor I hadn't seen before, live security feeds of the property. He pulled up a recording from earlier that day. We watched as a dark sedan parked at the property's edge. A figure in a black jacket crept toward the cabin and left the envelope. They found us, I whispered. They found the cabin, Caleb corrected. They don't know what we know. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching shadows move in the trees, maybe animals, maybe my imagination, maybe worse. As dawn broke over the sanctuary, golden light spilled across the misty fields. I made a decision. Let them come, I whispered. I'm not the girl they left behind. 3 weeks later. The courthouse steps looked impossibly steep. I leaned on my cane, eyes of the press turning toward me, the missing girl with explosive claims against her parents and a pharmaceutical giant. Ready? Anna asked quietly beside me. I nodded. I've been silent too long. It's time to speak. The press conference was Caleb's lawyer's idea, a move to create public pressure and shield me through visibility. They can't disappear you if the world is watching, he said. Now, standing before the microphones, I began. My name is Leah Wells. 3 weeks ago, my parents left me on a deserted road to die because of my illness. What they didn't expect was that I'd survive and speak the truth. My voice grew stronger as I exposed the arrangement between my parents and Neurovance, the experimental treatments I'd endured as a child, the decline of my health. I am one of only 3 surviving children from a medical trial that harmed 27. The company responsible tried to silence me. They even arranged false charges against my brother, the man who saved me. My words ignited social media. #JusticeForLeah began trending. Families came forward with stories of side effects from Neurovance trials. Public pressure mounted. 2 days later, Caleb was released on bail. The case against him dissolved under scrutiny. As we exited the courthouse together, reporters swarmed. Protections. We offered legal aid, trauma counseling, and investigative support to families facing impossible choices. Caleb became the foundation's operations lead, building infrastructure, hiring staff, making the vision real. Anna headed survivor services, using her strength and compassion to guide others through their darkest moments. As for me, I became the reluctant face of a movement I hadn't asked to lead, but had come to believe in with everything I had. We held workshops, spoke at universities, pushed for policy reforms. The foundation was our rebellion, steady, relentless, and grounded in truth. Sometimes, I still had nightmares. The roadside. The silence. The cold. But they didn't own me anymore. "You're thinking again," Caleb said, nudging me lightly. "I do that sometimes," I teased. He smiled. "You did more than survive, Leah. You built something out of the wreckage." I looked out over the land, once a place of hiding, now a place of healing. "We did," I said quietly. Hope to others who were told theirs was gone. The sanctuary isn't just a place. It's a promise that no one is too broken, too sick, or too forgotten to be worthy of love, protection, and purpose. I was once a girl abandoned to die. Now, I lead the fight for those who never had a voice. And I'm just getting started. Because sometimes, the smallest voice, once silenced, can echo loud enough to bring down empires. If this journey from victim to victor moved you, hit like and subscribe for more stories that expose the raw power of human resilience against impossible odds. Your story matters, too.